Tonight is the official start of our budget season, and to kick off, the time is now 6:17 p.m., and tonight we are having a work session to review the town of Narragansett's fiscal year 2026 budget with staff to discuss the following budgets: information resources, community development, and boards and commissions. So I will happily pass the baton off to whoever wants to start off first, and thank you all for being here.
Good evening, and thank you, Council President Menzies and council members. We'll start tonight with the first of our budget work sessions, and the two departments are information technology and community development. I'll start by saying first off that the compensation, all salary and benefits, is basically driven by the contract bargaining agreement and any percentages we get from Blue Cross and et cetera. There was one position that they each had in their budget for this current year we're in, which didn't get filled, so the town manager actually combined that into one position, and that will be a GIS senior planner that will sit in community development. Other than that, you can see from the IT and community development, both their budgets went down almost 8%, and basically that's due to staffing, either turnover that happened a lot at community development, or the joining of that one position, two positions into one. And now I'll turn it over to Dan.
I do have a short PowerPoint presentation to go over some complicated numbers in IT. Should only take a second. IT is made up of, as we all know, 4 positions: 1 network and security administrator, 2 sysadmins, 1 at town hall, 1 at public safety. Public safety one is funded through the police budget, and then myself, director/manager. As we all know, the IT is responsible for everything IT related in the town, which is everything we do now. Unlike 20 years, 30 years ago, that was not the case. Support cybersecurity, hardware support, software, project management for technology-related items, users, AV support for council, planning board, and zoning board, mobile device management for cell phones, tablets, MDTs, cameras, and basic asset inventory for everything that we use. Just to jump into the budget, as Chris has already said, the personnel and benefits is set by finance, either through CVAs and or Blue Cross and various costs like that. That's 50101 through 50125 on my budget. The next set of budget line items for mine is the operating costs, and most of which is level funded. That runs from 50201, professional services, contract services. That one did have an adjustment from last year. That's the internet service provider, website, and wireless costs for all departments. The wireless one is the new one that drove that cost up. That pulled all of our Verizon phones into one budget. Supplies, professional meetings, all level funded from the previous year. Software, same. Telephone services was adjusted. That incorporates all of what was broken out by department for the voice over IP phone system into one. Makes it easier for us to budget, as well as pay for through accounting. Equipment repair and office equipment is all level funded from the previous years. That's just for things that we need to repair within our own office. Total cost for 50311 I skipped over because that's the $500,000 one. That incorporates, I've got it broken down into several different topics. The first one is core systems and software, or software and services, I should say. First one, Tyler Munis, is the enterprise resource planning and or financial system that we have. The revenue side of it, which we're just finishing up implementation. OpenGov, which is the platform for building permits and licensing in the clerk's office. Asset management and work order system that we have for maintaining our assets, what we have, where it's located, and any work orders we have for public works. Microsoft 365 email and office finishes that up, which is also the bulk of that cost. Next one is cybersecurity related items, antivirus, email filtering, firewall support and updates, network monitoring, licensing, 2FA services that we all love, and the backup services for all of our systems. And the next one is listed as other. It includes voice over phone system support, asset and inventory for IT-related items, physical security system, IT tools that we use, Zoom account if we need it, and the Office 365 cloud backup. That next jumps into capital. Do you want to do that now, or you want to?
Well, does anyone on the council have any questions so far?
I'm just curious. Going through the budget, I noticed that all the telephone fees were all taken out and zeroed out. So could you
Yes.
just explain that again? I know you mentioned, but I didn't understand
Yep.
what you just said.
So it is a voice over IP phone system, and the idea was to combine it out from each department because it's the same amount no matter what it is, and there was no true actual way of saying, okay, you have 4 phones, so it's this amount. So it was easier just to take it, put it all into one budget area, and make it far easier for our friends in accounting to pay for. So
Perfect, thank you.
you're welcome. We tried to come up with a solution to break it out, and we just didn't
Yeah, no,
work.
no, that's fine. I just noticed everywhere it said telephone service, it was 0, and I was like, what? Thank you.
You're welcome.
And security firewalls, those are all level funded, and we feel
They
good-
are,
good
this
shape.
particular year, they did not go up,
Okay.
but they do tend to fluctuate a lot in some years based upon, because we're at the mercy of the vendor as far as what the support contract is for that per year, so,
Okay,
yep.
thank you. Anyone else on the council? No? Okay, please continue.
Okay, next is capital. First line item in capital, which I think is page, there it is. There's no page number on that, so that's what. All right, IT number 1 for capital is the fiber optic cable maintenance. We keep a fund of money in there to repair our own fiber optic cable we have on the streets. We don't pay Verizon or Cox to maintain it. We actually own it ourselves. And every time it breaks, we have to have it repaired, so we keep some money aside for it. IT number 2 is the PC and server replacement program. Actually, I should have moved that. That's all right. That was cut. IT number 3 is IT equipment. That is for things that are unexpected expenses or new items that we need to fund, depending on where technology is headed. And IT number 4 is a physical security system replacement, starting with town hall and public safety. We have a system that's been sitting here for about 25 years and needs some updates and improvements. So that's our capital budget. And
Dan?
Yes,
Real quick,
sir.
this is just like door access stuff?
yes,
Card access?
physical security, correct.
Okay,
Yep.
got it.
And this is just a quick slide on things how we try to save money in IT. IT is usually a cost center that really doesn't produce its own money. So we tend to use PC hardware 3 to 5 years longer than industry standard. Requires a lot of innovative use of older equipment retired, reusing different pieces of it and cannibalizing it for the future. Open source software where we can, alternative OSs where we can at no cost, recycling old equipment. And then we moved to virtual hardware many years ago, which saves us hundreds of thousands of dollars every few years in replacing hardware. So we're always trying to find something new to save. Last few things we've also done is combining software, multiple systems that were with different vendors, bring them into one if we can, tends to have a savings to it as well. So
Do we ever sell off old product?
we tend to e-waste it. By the time we get rid of it, it's nothing you want to use at home, so.
Okay, thank you.
Can I just ask a question about the
Sure.
server? Since it was cut, what condition is our server in?
Our server infrastructure for virtual machines is actually brand new.
Okay,
One of them is like 2 years old, the other one's a year old, so essentially it's new.
okay.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
And when we see cuts, just for our education moving forward, when we see something that's cut, does that mean it was originally in like previous budgets and it's now being cut? Or was it originally something that you guys had proposed and now have since decided to cut?
Well, it's all of the above, but for this year, you'll see on the capital pages in your sheet, you'll see where the town manager made a cut. So that usually, that line that was cut is usually in his budget every year. But he has some carryover from this last year into this year, so he thinks there's enough funds that if something happens, there is still funding available. It's not any new money that's been cut by the town manager. And
Excellent,
It'll
correct.
say it like on the bottom, over here. It'll say town manager 0 and department 40,000.
Awesome.
On the worksheet.
Can I
So-
go back?
Oh, no, go ahead.
Can I go back to the licenses and
Sure.
dues for a second? The 500,000 that's originally budgeted, looks like it only goes to about 400,000 every year. Is that true? Am I reading that right, or am I reading that
The
wrong?
50311?
50311, yeah.
Yes. So that has been fluctuating quite drastically over the last 5 years.
Have you ever gotten up to the 500,000?
Spending-wise, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, yep. So, yeah, this year it actually dropped because we changed. We had a double funding for revenue software from last year because we were in the middle of software implementation. So we cut that old one. That's why it's a drop this year. But it does fluctuate a bit, even within, because we're estimating numbers completely. And we actually take what I spent the previous year, add 5% across the board, which we don't always spend.
Okay.
So, and what we don't spend rolls back into the next fiscal year for Chris to have.
All right, cool. Thank you very
You're
much.
welcome.
Sorry.
Nope, that's okay. I do, from the school committee side, I know that we were doing a lot of forward thinking, especially, for the district technology committee. I was on there for 2 years. And we thought about always like the worst case scenarios and having a plan should the worst things happen, like a hacking or
Yep.
a crash. Are we confident with all the systems that we have in place that should any of those worst case scenarios happen?
We do have a disaster recovery plan, because those are disasters when it comes to those cyber incidents. Am I confident what we have? Yes. But we don't spend anywhere near enough money to give you 100% that no one could ever hack us.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Also, just so you know, for the regular budget, which will be during the work sessions, there's 600,000 in contingency funds that we keep in the operating budget. It's less than 1% of the total budget for instances and emergencies that we
Yep.
come across.
Does that conclude your presentation? Sorry,
is,
I just want to make
that's it,
sure
yes.
that, okay. I'll actually open the floor to.
Alex, one thing for me real quick.
Oh, yeah, no, I was going to go down the line, but we can start on this side of the line. Counselor Torialde, if you want to open up the floor.
Sure. Dan, can you just talk through the access control system replacement project? Just
Sure.
a little more detail.
Yep. So we have access controls in several buildings. I don't want to go into detail in a public meeting like this, but the system was installed in the early 2000s, and it's a proprietary system that they chose at the time. I wasn't involved in it. And when we make changes to it, it's extremely expensive to work with. And not only is it that the software is out of date, the hardware is difficult to get and not cost effective. So the idea is to replace it with something a little more open platform, so we can use multiple different vendors in the same system, saving money. But there is a cost to get to that point. So, yeah.
Okay. Is this only going to be implemented at town hall, or does this go across police, fire?
It'll be
as well?
multiple buildings.
Okay,
Yep.
got it. All right, thanks.
Counselor Colonies, do you have any questions?
No, thank you.
Counselor Vignelli?
So I'm looking at this, and so for ongoing project for replacement desktop laptops, there's 0 in the budget.
Yes.
But this is a projection for the next, 6 years?
6 years, yep.
To come down. So this year, we didn't really need to do any of that?
We had leftover monies from the previous years in capital that we could use to offset that, so.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah. Worked out nicely.
Nice, yeah.
Excellent. I actually already asked my questions as I went through, so I really appreciate your taking the time, all of the amount of time and energy that went into putting this together and being as informative as it has been for us. So, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you, Dion.
You're welcome.
So, feel free to
Yep.
go right into the next.
You bet. Good evening, Jill Sabo, Director of Planning. My budget's a lot simpler than Mr. Holland's.
Wow.
I hope. So I'm just going to go through a page turn with you. It's really the department budget's pretty short. So you can see there's a couple of things. I want to just point out at the very beginning that it's actually a net decrease of 8%. So we are decreasing our budget. We have a couple of things where we've added in a little bit of increase on some of our line items. For instance, copier agreements and professional meetings. We have a pretty big, large printer in our office that prints full-size plans. We don't have a service agreement for it right now, and it's been on the fritz for the last 4 months. So we have been holding off actually getting a service agreement until we can get that in the budget. And again, professional meetings, as I mentioned, and professional development. As previously mentioned, we do have another staff person who hasn't yet been hired. We have a position, so we're anticipating with licenses and dues and development for that new person as well. We added just a little bit in both of those line items. And the last one, I think, was PC software. So our licensing for Esri went up this year. I'm sorry, Esri. I should have told you what that is. Esri is the computer software program for our GIS.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. I will. Okay. So the one thing I don't have in the budget, because the irony is budget season starts in the fall and grant season starts in the spring, is that we have the opportunity right now to apply for a grant from SNEP, which SNEP is the Southeast New England program, and that's a program of the EPA. And the grant this year, it's a SWIG grant, which is a watershed implementation grant. It's a grant we've applied for a couple of times in the past, and it's specifically for the Foddering Farm Causeway project. I'm not sure if you folks are familiar. We have an ongoing project. It's been a project with here in the town since, in one shape or form or another, since 2017. There's an opportunity right now to apply for money to look at the second component of that project. The first component is the road raising, which is happening right now through FEMA, through a FEMA grant. And we're looking at the second prong of that would be the water quality component of the way if you're familiar with where Foddering Farm Causeway is, it separates two coves, Long Cove and Champlain Cove. And again, environmentally, Long Cove is unhealthy. And actually the folks on the island, as well as Salt Pond Coalition, approached us in 2017 about how to make the access and egress safer, because the road does flood and has been closed before it was closed in Superstorm Sandy. And also if there was a way to dovetail that with making the coves more vibrant and healthier by potentially putting in a culvert. So we've looked at the road raising. We're doing that right now. We need to look at the environmental component, which is the health of Long and Champlain Coves, and if the potential of putting in a culvert or something to that effect would be beneficial. This grant, we did apply for it last year. It does have a 33% match to it. Last year we put in 57.5. You'll see it in the 2024 budget. We didn't get the grant, but we'd like to apply for it again. It wouldn't be any more than the 57.5 of which we asked for last year.
What do you think our chances are of getting it this year?
Third time's a charm, Mr. Torriello.
Yay.
No, actually, in all fairness to that, after the last time, I did speak with the person who puts on the grants over there, Mr. Ardito, over at the EPA, and we had a conversation about why. Because from, when you look at the project on paper, it looks like a poster child for this. And frankly, they weren't aware that the money that we were FEMA grants take a long time. By the way, this one took almost 2 years to get. They weren't aware that FEMA only looks at life and safety. It doesn't look at the environment. It only looks at life, safety, and property. So the grant that we have right now is strictly road raising. It's life, safety, and property. And they were under the impression that we had money to do this other portion. We were just double asking. So I did clarify that with them last year. And I'm hoping with that clarification, there's a small number of people who work in that decision-making realm. So we're on a semi-first name basis with a couple of them. They are aware that, in fact, the FEMA money won't support the environmental component.
Speaking of the FEMA money, just a quick question. How secure is the FEMA money right now? Do we know if it's secure?
We have a grant right now. We're operating under a FEMA grant right now. Yeah,
But it's not
we are.
taken away or anything?
One more time?
It's not being taken away or anything like that?
Oh, you mean?
Frozen?
Oh, no, not that I'm aware of right now. No,
Okay, thanks.
no.
Yeah, I'll let them, that's actually kind of the direction I was going to err on the side of caution with grant writing. How confident are we in obtaining the grants, and where do we currently stand? It sounds like those were all clearly answered already, so.
This is an
always-
ongoing project, Mr. Menzies. I feel like it's something that we.
Usually, yeah.
Yeah, that we're not, this isn't a new thought. We've been working at this for 7 or 8 years. Yeah. So hopefully, that means.
No, and again, from my previous experience, again, on the school committee side, my familiarity with the grant writing in this town is you all do exceptionally well at it. So it's always surprising and frustrating to hear when we don't get it. So, you know, again, appreciate all of the continued efforts that go into the ongoing process of these grant applications.
Thank you. So the only other, so.
Councilor Vignelli, do you
Oh,
have
I'm
any
sorry.
questions?
No,
Sorry about
I'm good.
Okay. May I move on? Yes. Great. So the, if we flip to the next page, which is our, which is my CIP. So I am asking for $75,000 for the next 2 years, or for a total of $150,000 for the updating of our comprehensive plan. As it's written in the description, so the comprehensive plan needs to be updated every 10 years. And the state law recently changed where they made it a little more urgent for municipalities to actually get their plans done. And they said, okay, you have to do it every 10 years. And if it doesn't happen by, you know, within 2 years of the expiration date, then you can no longer use your plan to make municipal decisions. So that's a pretty important, it's a pretty important thing for us, and certainly for the town. Just by way of example, the last plan that we did started in September of 2012, and we didn't finish until September of 2017. So it took us 5 years. We're looking at doing this plan on a much expedited track, 3.5 years tops, because we should be done by 2027 to make the deadline, but we have to be done by 2029.
Is this a complete rewrite from the ground up?
No, it wouldn't be a complete rewrite, but there are new things every year, and there are new things that come down. So one thing typically in the past, the plans hadn't really looked at, but we'll be looking at a lot more, and we'll be focusing a lot more. And it's touched on in our current plan is climate change, sea level rise. We're surrounded by water. That's, I don't want to say it is a hot topic, but it's more of an urgency for the town of Narragansett, because we are surrounded either, you know, by the bay, by the ocean, by the pond, or by the river, which is also tidally influenced. So that's one of those things that they'd be taking a closer look at and trying to figure out where we can beef up the plan.
And are these
So-
workers within your office, or who exactly is working on
No,
this?
so the way we've done it in the past is we would hire a consultant. We would go out to bid and hire a consultant to do the work. It's a yeoman's task, bigger than what our department can handle.
Got it. Thank you.
Councilor Vignelli, do you have any questions?
No, I was just going to ask whether the money was going to be used to hire a consultant. That's
It would be. We would
Yeah,
go out to bid, and you ultimately would select a consultant.
perfect.
And I'll just wait until you give me the okay that you've concluded with your presentation.
That's actually it.
Oh, well, all right.
That's it for my budget. I'm going to move on to boards and commissions, or do you want to do that now?
Well, nope, unless you have any questions. Nope, we can move right on to boards and commissions.
Great.
I have questions for each of you that I forgot to ask at the very end of your presentation.
Sure, great. So the first one we're going to go to is Historic District Commission. That's level funding. There's no change. Do we have any questions? Do you want to, Council President, do you want to go ask questions each way, or do you?
No,
want to
you can go
finish?
right through, and
Okay.
for the sake of time, and then I'll open up the floor after.
Okay.
Thank you.
So for the zoning board, there is a slight increase. That's for, again, mail service and that copy agreement that I mentioned earlier. We took the cost of that and spread it out through boards and commissions as well as the town budget. The next one is the Conservation Commission, Tree Board. That's level funding. The next one is the Planning Board. And again, it has a slight increase under the mail service and copy agreement. Harbor Management Commission is level funding. The Land Trust is level funding. And the Affordable Housing Trust Collaborative, no change.
I just had a general question on the affordable housing. I know that there was a request that I had forwarded over. Does that get considered later, or I'm just interested as to, because I know requests came through from the affordable housing for 50,000 to consider going to them. So I just wonder where that would get considered.
That would be considered during the work sessions, or I think it's on my slide for later on during the public hearing or the work sessions, one of those. But it gets considered later, and if you approve it, then it gets put in
All right.
as a
Thank you.
transfer.
So that's it, it's pretty simple.
Oh, a lot of level
Uneventful,
funding.
yes, thank you.
That's great. When it comes to affordable housing and all of these other committees and boards, how does the funding go about? Does a committee apply just for our own education? For instance, the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Committee, not that they'd ever ask for money, but if they were to come forward and ask for assistance, do they just send an email and we work through that? Just wondering.
Yeah, they could send an email. If a committee wanted a budget, then we'd
Okay.
have to decide, and it would be put in the budget
Thank you.
next year.
And then I'll actually open up the floor to any of the council members if they have any questions before I ask my final question. Well, don't all jump in at once.
No, I guess you explained that the increases in the zoning and planning is due to the copy machine service agreement. That's all incorporated.
It would be the copier agreement contract, and then we put in a little bit extra for printing and mailing, I believe.
Okay.
Anything else? All right, so I will ask a general question for each of you. And this is just for our education, and this is always a fun question, too, that we used to do on the school committee side. Is there anything that is not in the budget that you wish was in the budget that you could include? Anything? And this, you probably hate this question. But this is just for our own education, just like catching us up to speed. Is there anything that you wish you could add into your budgets that is not currently sitting in the budget? And if you don't know at this time, you can always come back later.
I can pretty much confidently say there really isn't anything that we're missing at this point. We've had a good number of years to get it up to where it should be, where it is now, right, as you see it, so we're good. Thank you for asking, though.
Thank you.
I know, that's a good question. I wish I'd had it ahead of time.
Oh, that's all right. Didn't think of it until now.
Right. My first response is, more people?
Yeah.
Certainly more people, but not at the moment. But I will reserve that thought for next year when I see you
Excellent.
for this.
Thank you. And unless there's any other questions? Oh, you can make it after. I just want to thank you all for being here, for the council, and for you guys for taking this opportunity to come to us for the first two work sessions. It kind of lightens the load for the later budget workshops, but it's also a good preview of coming attractions. So really appreciate the thorough presentations. If anyone on the council has any additional questions, please feel free to reach out to each department head as you can. Otherwise, thank you so much, and we'll see you at regular session.
Thank you.